Peace. What's up, y'all? Okay, I got 2 people watching. I take that. Give me a few minutes. I'm gonna let everybody know I'm live. I know it's late, so we're gonna rock with whoever comes through. But I want to post on my social media platforms. Let me turn this down for a second. Post on my social media platforms and let everybody know I'm live. And if you guys could share this. Oh, we went from 2 to 16 that quick. Okay, I'm here for that. If you guys could share this video, that would be wonderful for me. Help me get some people in here. It's after midnight on the East Coast, but it's only 9 o'clock in LA. So I felt like at first I was gonna wait until tomorrow to do this, but why not do it now? I'm in the spirit and I have all of the information together, and the people that are meant to be with us will be with us, you know? So let me notify all of my folks that I'm live, my membership channel and whatnot. So we'll get started right around the 10-minute mark. All right, I'm almost done. Give me a second. Okay, we got 20 people tuned in. I'm here for that. Let's see, what am I doing? Okay. Somebody's at work right now, so, we're going to help you get through your shift. Okay. I think, did I do everything? Instagram, Facebook, yes. I meant to send to my email list, but it's okay. I was debating whether I was going to do this live tonight because it's already late. I mean, it's 9 o'clock on the 9:20 on the West Coast. So I was considering doing this tomorrow, but since I have the energy right now, and since I have 28 other people that are obviously still up and have some interest in what I have to say this lovely Friday evening, then we're gonna do it now. We're gonna rock with it now. Where two or more are gathered in my name, right? Oh, my sis is in the building. Okay. She gonna cuss me out because I didn't tell her I was going live, but it's fine. Peace, Queen. Very happy to have you. I actually thought about you, and I was like, it's past midnight. I don't think I'm gonna hit her up and ask for her assistance, but I'm very, very, very happy to see you in the chat room. What's up, family? Peace, Red Hawk. Peace, Zoo Kiefer. Aloha. What's good? UFO. Peace and love. EJ. Peace. What's up? Cedric. Peace. How you doing? New Earth Mindset with Devarm Karma. Peace, Kamatri. How you doing? What's good? Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Thank you guys for joining me. Let me pull this is technically my third episode of the episode that just won't quit, episode 67 of my headline news episode. But this is when I decided to split this into multiple topics. I kind of stretched out a little bit in terms of talking about these three different subjects. Today we're going to talk about a few more than just DEI and race-based consciousness. But when I decided to split this into three videos, I stretched out a little bit. So the Congo and Sudan, that video was a lot more in depth than I had originally planned because I wanted to tie it back to the situation that happened in Rwanda, because I wanted to tie it back to frequency wars, which I think are playing out in a major way around the world, and we are not really cognizant of it. And then part two, dealing with the Grammys and Hollywood, because I can see very clearly how prominent of a role Hollywood is playing and is going to continue to play over this next year, particularly Black Hollywood. And so don't start arguing with me about the word Black. That's so frustrating to me when I'm making a point about something that's actually important that we can all agree on. And then you guys want to start these little subtitle arguments about things that aren't really that important in the bigger scheme of things. If I say Black people in America, everybody knows who I'm talking about. You might disagree about the language, the terminology, etc., but everybody knows exactly who I'm talking about. So we can save ourselves a little bit of time in that regard. And even when I use the word Black, I have a different understanding of what that word entails. But so part two was about Hollywood and the Grammys and harnessing Black energy. Today is going to be about politics and the continuum of harnessing Black energy. And I'm walking this fine line because I know I keep saying that the race-based consciousness era is over, right? And so for somebody that's not looking at the bigger picture, it might sound hypocritical or like I'm double speaking. But when you understand that consciousness creates reality and that everything that manifests in the physical realm actually starts in the mind, right? In the imagination, in the visualization, in the third eye, which is why Hollywood is Satan's vision board, right? And I keep saying that because as long as they can implant the illusions and their goals and their agenda in our subconscious mind, and we're not cognizant of it, then we'll manifest it for them. I'm not talking about like physically going out and, pounding the pavement and doing the physical labor, although it plays out in the physical realm in that regard. But I'm talking about the fear-based consciousness. Project 2025 is something that I'm getting ready to talk about. I'm looking at Black America like in this clinched, scared, oh my God, we're getting ready to go back into slavery kind of mindset and frequency, and it's just throwing me off. Because, like, how can we possibly say we love God? How can we possibly be spiritual? How can we possibly be tapped in energetically right now, operating from a spiritual vantage point, and be in so much fear, especially for people who haven't even earned it? Like, I'm not impressed with none of this. This whole political show, all of I'm not impressed by any of it. And I'm going to show you guys why. So, um, the screen is blinding my view. I can't see you. The computer screen is still. That's because I'm not on the computer. You're looking at my screen, which is the first slide of my presentation today. Headline news with ZaZa Ali. This is episode 67. This is my bi-weekly now news segment highlighting local, national, and global events, particularly those being censored by mainstream media. So it is intentional that you can't see me, so that we can all focus on the message and the conversation that I want to have with you guys today. So again, walking that fine line between race-based consciousness is over, and still having to like identify all this little weird, whether it's the race-based consciousness dynamic in Black America or whether it's the race-based consciousness in white America, like it's still playing out on the ground, right? So I'm going to get into that in just a second. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Much love, you guys. I appreciate you guys for being here with me this evening. Peace, Gemini rising. What's good? Welcome in, family. Yes, please hit the like button. Share this video. Maybe somebody's up. Maybe somebody can benefit from this conversation. So just to get started real quick, I have written a 349-page social studies and history textbook called Ancient People. And I'm very, very proud and excited to present this to the world. I have a great announcement that I'm going to be making over this last week, something particular that I've been working on in this book, evolving it to become the highest and best version of what I know it can be. But this is a 349-page color textbook. Lili Ukulani and Hawaii's Last Monarchy, the Moors in Spain, the Kandakis of Ethiopia and Kush, Africans in Asia, which entails the warrior spirit that is tied back into and connected to ancient China and ancient Japanese culture, which were all native, dark-skinned, indigenous, melanated, dare I say, Black people. Okay, whether they came from Africa or whether they were indigenous to those particular lands. I talk about that in the book as well as Tibet and the 18th dynasty. You can get information on where to get access to this book in the description, as well as all of my books. I am now a 7-time author and 1-time ebook creator, Practical Steps to Health and Well-Being. All of the information for all of my books and content is in the description. Black Matters, Volume 1 and 2. Keys to Womanhood, Change Your Life from Lack to Abundance, The Science of Sex, and The Science of the Mind. Thank you very much. And last but certainly not least, today, February 7th, is the final day of my campaign. I actually meant to put this video up earlier today. I wasn't going to do it live. I was just going to post it. But since I didn't do that, I'm going to extend this campaign till tomorrow at midnight, which is February 8th. So if you like this content, if you would like to have access to all of my content moving forward, because today is the end of the campaign, you can sign up for $50 for a one-time subscription, no subscription, no annual renewal payment. The information is in the description. And then for the next year, you could just rock out with me, not have to pay anything else, not have to cancel, and you'll have access to all of my content. Shout out to all of the beautiful people in my membership channel. I love and appreciate you guys so much. I cannot tell you how much I value you guys. And I'm working on some really dope fly content for us in the membership channel, just to kind of reiterate how much I value and appreciate you guys. All right. So, first of all, I want to start off with saying rest and power to the magnificent mind, the scholar, the scientist, Neely Fuller Jr. He was the author of the United Independent Compensatory Code System and Conduct Concept, and he was the mentor for Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, which you can see both of them on the screen right now. And those, you guys know, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing has had a tremendous effect on my studies, on my work, on my just everything. And so obviously I would be adept to and paying attention to the legacy and the teachings of Neely Fuller Jr. as well. But I want to read this bio that I found on online, which actually told me some information I didn't know about him. So I wanted to share with you guys. Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., 89 years of age, was born on October 6, 1929, at the height of the Great Depression. He served in two branches of the armed forces. He served in the Army during the Korean War conflict in his first term. For his second term, he served in the Air Force during the Little Rock 9 era, where 9 Black youths went to an all-white school during desegregation. During this time, he wrote the first 6 pages of his book called The United Independent Compensatory Code System and Concept. He carried these 6 pages around for years, expanding the book as situations presented themselves. The book eventually grew from 6 pages to 1,300 pages. These pages were kept in a suitcase. When he left the military in 1984, he organized the pages into a more comprehensive form by placing them in note binders. He is currently expanding the book according to our modern day use of words. And obviously, this is something that was written some time ago, but I learned some things about him that I wasn't aware of. And I think that the military is a much more, or I should not much more, but a very clear and concise environment and ecosystem where a Black man, an intellectual man at that, would be able to gather a lot of data and information and really be able to fine tune a theory, right? And then, of course, Dr. Welsing, extended on to his work and came up with the ISIS papers, which is, rooted in a lot of the information Neely Fuller provided. And then also she took it a step further in terms of the scientific, biological chemist, right? She added on to it as well as with the divine feminine perspective. So I just wanted to start off with paying homage to him and to remind us not only how important our history is, right? Black History Month. I mean, and knowing our history, those things are very important, without a doubt. Period to that. I don't want to pivot from that. I want to emphasize that, which is why I write books, which is why I take so much time and energy to put these presentations together and to raise the bar on the level of conversation we're having. Because I'm here for the intellectuals, and I'm here for the scholars, and I'm here for the researchers, and I'm here for those of us that are really interested in building a new world. I'm working on another video, and I'm going to post this only in the membership channel, but all these very unique and intricate ways of building houses that I've been looking at and studying and kind of researching on the side and just saving notes on them. There's a lot of really fascinating, holistic, sort of earth-based ways to create houses and properties and communities. And so I'm going to be doing a video about that soon. But I say that to say the ingenuity aspect, thinking outside the box aspect, is very critical right now, especially when so many of us are locked in this race-based, lack-based consciousness. We got to get out of that, or you got to get out of that, or they got to get out of that, because that's not where God is. And when I say that, I'm not saying God is not with melanated people or God is not with Black people. I'm saying the frequency in that space and in that state of consciousness is too low. For right now, for where we're headed, for what's happening in the world, for how much energy and time it's taking for us to maintain our sanity, I could write a book on that. So the frequency, that frequency of despair or suffering or victim or fighting against racism, even the concept of racism, white supremacy, like, nah, that shit is dead. And I'm saying that to you, looking at two people who have had a very prominent impact on my work, on my research. Our goal is supposed to be to expand the knowledge. So, and still at the same time, pay homage to our ancestors and to the great minds among us. So, again, rest in peace to him and to her. Um, and I just want to reiterate, as I did in the previous video about Elon Trump, and you know, some of the political aspect. Post 2020 race beyond and beyond race-based consciousness is dead. Why am I saying that? I'm not saying we're not still seeing the black and white dichotomy play out in the world, because we are in a major way. But they're doing that. It's kind of like one of the last tricks that they have to keep people locked into this bandwidth of consciousness that we've all kind of been stuck in, this web that we've been in, that we haven't really been able to discern and cipher our way out of it, right? But if the Bible says the future belongs to the visionaries, and it does, it's not just talking about people that are plotting out, you know, roadmaps and like intentionally plotting land and the things in the physical space, but it's also talking about having foresight. So if we are talking about building the kingdom of God, even the concept of a kingdom of God, that reality has to be built without the victim-based, lack-based consciousness, etc., etc. So the last shall be first and the first shall be last, for many may be called, but few chosen. The closer you are to the center, the freer you are, and the further you are from the center, the more in bondage one becomes. This is spiritual science. This is talking about living from your true, authentic self, who you really, truly are organically, without the projection of your family and the projection of race-based consciousness and the projection of, you know, the continuity of, you know, degrading or objectifying or minimizing the value of women by women too, right? All of these different caveats that kind of have us all walking around, bumping our heads against life, not really firmly rooted. That takes us further away from the center. But the closer you are to the center, the more in bondage one becomes. This is why it's so critical to study the ancient ones and not leave that behind. This is why we can't allow artificial intelligence to become a god in this world, even though I can make the argument that it already has. But technology is supposed to serve us, not rule us. We're not supposed to be talking about any head of state. I mean, the Donald Trump worship is just beyond me. But even beyond the Donald Trump worship is the AI worship. We're talking about computers and robots. The only appropriate reaction to DEI politics, affirmative action, and rollbacks, etc., is so what? I'm not saying that it's not important for Black politicians to be in the White House and in governance. I'm going to show some of that in just a little bit. I'm not saying that there aren't Black people and other people, anybody really right now being laid off, losing their jobs, the ramifications of Trump being in office and laying people off or stopping this. We're going to get into all of that in just a second. But 2020 was the starting point of a grace period, where God kind of sat all of us down and gave us time to really think about it, to think about what's going on in the world, to think about what would happen if I really had to take care of my family without a job, to think about being self-sufficient, to think about how to use the internet and how to think outside of the box in order to start businesses and be creative, or to come back to the authentic self, or to focus more on spiritual practices, or to eat better, or to be more internally aware, internally focused, right? 2020 was a grace period. I'll say 2020 to 2023. 2024, the checks started coming due. Just in terms of how focused and attentive you were versus how focused and attentive you were not. And that doesn't mean that, because a lot of the people that I know that are like spiritually focused and tapped in have been going through hell over the last couple of years. So we're at a different stage of evolution and growth that's charging us and forcing us to evolve. So there's two dynamics to the race-based conversation that I want to have. I showed this image before as well. This is one of the extreme polarities when I talk about America being under divine judgment. This is a representation of one of those symbolic, right? It's symbolic, but it's also in real time because they ended up projecting this into the collective consciousness where Black people started actually acting like this, right? So not only in dressing up like this, but in the step and fetch it type of frequency vibration, coon type energy, if you want to put it there, right? But I'm just saying, why would America be under divine judgment? You know how much hatred there is behind an image like this? We can understand if we start talking about images like this. Everybody is you know what I mean? This takes us all to a place, and this is Ye's lyrics on the left-hand side when he mysteriously came back from Japan and turned into a whole new person. Don't know who that is. Don't think that's Ye at all. He's either under a mass level of mind control or they switched him out and are continuously switching him in and out depending on what his state of consciousness is. But the images on the right, the image on the left is clear, but the images on the right, because we coming back to the race element of this, right? Some of this is about religion, some of this is about race and culture. All of the representations of ancient deities, of ancient civilizations, including in particular to the Moors in Spain, which is all of the images on the right-hand side, right? The black and white dichotomy on the checkerboard, the black and white dichotomy of yin and yang, the representation of the Black Madonna and Child, right? And the Pope sitting at the feet of the Black Madonna and Child, right? Asar Aset Heru. These are all ongoing symbolic representations of this war that's been happening between the higher self and the lower nature. But it gets expressed through humanity at its highest point. So the world that the people in power today have built is on the backs of slaves, is on the backs of going and raping and pillaging nations all around the world. And all of the other diabolic stuff that we can't even talk about here. I had a video I was going to play for you guys. I was like, no, I'm not about to get my page canceled for this. And by the way, all of the videos that I've posted in this past 6 weeks, I'm going to be posting on my membership channel for you guys. Some of the videos have been trimmed out. Videos have been trimmed out because, you know, copyright, whatever. So I just trim it out. But I'm going to repost all of that content in the membership channel. Thank you so much, eSchool. I appreciate you for the super chat. So again, we have these representations of ancient and new, right? Black and white. We have the Muslim Christian element of this when it comes to the Moors in Spain, even though it's even deeper than that because it was before it was the Muslims versus Christians, it was the Greeks versus the Nubian Kemetic kings and queens. All right. So this is why all of this symbolism of all of this Nazism is slowly creeping into the collective consciousness because they want to get people used to being ruled over. Watching what you say. You saw Trump just put some legislation forward to ban people from using anti Jewish sentiments. Putting this in legalities in 2025. So real quick, I want to do an update on the Grammys and the Congo. This is the day after the Grammys. This is Dochi. I think I'm saying her name right. The day after the Grammys. You can't tell me this is not a humiliation ritual. I don't know who this white dude is walking with her. Her whole body, her facial expressions, her images. Like, what do we, mind you, this is all happening in the backdrop of all kind of chaos happening in America and the world. This is at New York Fashion Week. Yesterday, I believe. Why is she being paraded like this? What is the underlying sentiment behind this? Look at her aura, look at her energy, look at her body language. This is giving me Kanye West vibes. Him and his wife. Everything about this is just strange. So now this is the humiliation ritual aspect of being awarded with the platform and with the notoriety and with the Grammys wins, right? Her behind is out. The images on the right, I did not want to do that. Sorry. The images on the right, I didn't even know this existed. This was out before she even won the Grammys, of her, the cover of Paper magazine, where she is dressed as a man. Both of those images are her. Now, listen. Again, harnessing the energy, making us the face of all of the you see how the sexual energy just keeps on playing itself out, from Kanye to all the stuff we talked about in the previous video, the sexual ritual, sex magic aspect of this. And then this is the same frequency and vibration just playing itself out in other ways. And people will say, oh, that's artistic. You think you're doing too much, because you guys don't know what's in the backdrop of what they're planning. This is very strange. This next video, when I go to this next slide, might be a little bit triggering. This is something that has a development that has happened in the Congo. So again, a little update on the stuff that we talked about in the previous videos before. So it's the situation in the Congo in terms of the women, it's a little volatile. So just giving you guys a trigger warning, but there's a larger point I'm trying to make about this low vibrational sexual energy, which is one of the primary tools that Satan, devil, Agent Smith, whatever you want to call that frequency, is using to control the masses.
This is truly awful and a trigger warning. We are learning that at least 165 female prisoners were raped and then burned to death. This video shows where and when this horrifying mass rape took place. You're looking at inmates fleeing from a prison in the Democratic Republic of Congo. More than 4,000 detainees made it out that day. But before their escape, some of the men carried out the mass rape of 165 women, then set prison alight. Most of those victims died in the fire. That's according to the United Nations. Only around a dozen female inmates who had also been raped survived the blaze. Now, fighting has been taking place in Goma as a feared and dangerous rebel group called M23 battled government troops for control of the city, which is in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. In a matter of days, the M23 rebels forcibly seized the city. Now, systematic sexual violence has plagued the Democratic Republic of Congo for decades. Now, with the conflict spiraling out of control, women and girls are yet again at risk.
Okay, so we're not in the Congo. We're in America. I know the disinformation campaigns can be real. I know that Africa is always a target of disinformation campaigns. I also know that this is not new to the area in terms of this sexual aspect of this war that has been inflicted on the innocent people in the Congo. So I would like to welcome anybody that has inside somebody there on the ground or who actually knows the scope to tell us if this is disinformation or if this is not real, because this goes back to the point I was making before. I think we'll all agree that America is under divine judgment, but if I reference the Congo being under divine judgment, then we start talking about the IMF and the WHO and all of the other alphabet boys, which that conversation is 1000% to be had. We all know that because I've been having it for a very long time now. But when there is the ongoing systematic culture of sexually devaluing girls and women, and there is an ongoing culture of that. I think the depth of the conversation that we're having around these subjects, what's happening in the Congo, what's happening in Sudan, what's happening in Haiti, and different parts of the world, we need to start going a little bit deeper than just what they're doing to those people, to our people. Nearly 3,000 people were killed in Goma in the DRC, according to early estimates from the UN peacekeeping operation in eastern Congo. The fighting between M23, a rebel group that the UN says is funded by Rwanda, and Congolese armed forces resulted in the rebels' capture of Goma last week. Millions have died in the past 30 years in the Congo, where ethnic tensions and fighting over access to land and mineral resources have erupted into several wars. And one of the headlines for the New York Times was "Days of Mass Burials Ahead as Congo Mourns its Dead in Goma." Now, I saw somebody in the comments of the previous video I did about this say that one of the Western nations, if not all of them, probably all of them, but there was some specific nation or organization that they said had paid Rwanda for, they had a large deal for certain minerals or natural resources. And now Rwanda is going and trying to infiltrate the Congo using the M23 in order to make due on that payment, right? That doesn't change my position though. I can see because it's the repetitive thing in different parts of the continent and even all over the world where they come in and they'll, have a despot and his family to run a corporate government and, come in and pave roads and create an airport and use that as a means to have a base in a country, right? Or in a nation, right? But the sexual deviant aspect of it is another conversation that needs to be had that's not being had, in particular when it comes to the continent. And it's not just happening in the Congo. So while we are bringing attention, while we're holding the alphabet boys and the system of racism, white supremacy accountable, I think that the conversation about accountability, self-responsibility of African people, of Rwandan people, of Congolese people, particularly the men, we don't really have those conversations a lot. I just find that so fascinating. But again, you can see how the sexual aspect of this keeps playing itself out in different roles, whether it's the Congo, whether it's Diddy, whether it's Cuties, the movies from Netflix, whether it's Balenciaga, whether it's Kim Kardashian modeling next to a Tesla truck and grinding on a robot. We keep coming back to the same conversation because, again, this is one of the premier ways that the devil gets in, or that Agent Smith frequency is taking over people. This is why being sexually disciplined right now is critical. In a relationship or not in a relationship, taking a relationship to the next level where it's more so based in the spiritual aspect of it.
On Secretary of State Marco Rubio's whirlwind tour of Latin America, a potentially unprecedented offer from the president of El Salvador.
He has agreed to accept for deportation any illegal alien in the United States who is a criminal from any nationality, be they MS-13 or Tren de Aragua, and house them in his jails.
President Nayib Bukele revealing more in a post on X, offering the U.S., quote, the opportunity to outsource part of its prison system in exchange for a fee. And it's not just for people who are in the U.S. illegally.
He has offered to house in his jails dangerous American criminals in custody in our country, including those of U.S. citizenship and legal residence. No country's ever made an offer of friendship such as this.
But that offer, especially to take citizens, raising major concerns.
It's a non-starter to talk about deporting U.S. citizens. It's point blank unlawful.
Unless someone has committed a crime abroad, extensive constitutional and legal protections exist to prevent that in most cases. And for citizens of other countries apprehended here, regulations are still in place.
They have to follow the very strict requirements Congress has laid out, which means an agreement between the U.S. and El Salvador, but also an absolute guarantee that those individuals will be safe in El Salvador from danger, persecution, and torture.
Rubio today acknowledging it's unclear if such an action would be legal.
Obviously, we'll have to study it on our end. There are obviously legalities involved. We have a constitution. We have all sorts of things, but it's a very generous offer.
So
On Secretary,
the president of law and order, so to speak, is all these different little moving parts here. And I keep repeating this sentiment of I wish they would just leave us alone, right? How is it that in the mainframe of consciousness, this is what I want, let me say this before I forget. In terms of all of the people that are now being deported or re-deported back to wherever it is that they came from, I'm willing to bet anything that most, if not all of those people were mandated to take the real ID as well as to get the shot, which in my opinion was the reason for one of the main reasons for this whole theatrical aspect of what just took place over the last 2-3 years in terms of just allowing hordes and hordes of people from other countries, stoking the racial flames. They got to keep you in that frequency, while at the same time bringing people over here and giving them health care and money and food stamps and stuff that they won't even give their own people. Yeah, the bigger ploy was to get all of those people over here and get them in the system. They would have never been able to do it any other way. So now we got mega prisons being made at the same time. It's the extreme polarities of it all. It's the whole criminalizing aspect of this. Criminalizing Venezuelans, criminalizing Haitians, criminalizing Mexicans, criminalizing anybody that's not from here. But around the world, Americans are the ones that are seen as the real criminals. And I need to emphasize to everybody that's in another country I hope you guys understand, we're not our government. We're not the United States government. Trump doesn't speak for me. Kamala didn't speak for me. 99.999% of the people represented in any government capacity don't speak for me. Some of them every now and then might touch on a few things that are important to me. But I need for the rest of the world to start differentiating us between them. I saw that somebody posted a video online, and it was in Philly, some people who were obviously drug addicts, like zombie type shit, where people are folded over in wheelchairs and just like straight zombied out, right, off some type of drug, some type of situation. But we've all seen those videos in most major cities in America. But it was just the caption was like, I have to post silly stuff because nobody wants to pay attention to what's going on in the Congo. Like, so you're using the suffering and the chaos and the dysfunction that people are dealing with in America to get people to pay attention to the Congo? In what world does that actually make sense? In what world is that righteous? Video on the left. The video on the left is the before, and the video on the right is the after.
Everybody, let's get this done. Everybody together, okay?
Okay, that's the before.
Press conference in Doral Monday, Venezuelan Americans denounced the Trump administration and South Florida Republicans.
More than betrayal, beyond betrayal. They used us. They actually, during the campaign, and I don't want to make this political, but during the campaign, the elected officials from the Republican Party, they actually told us that it was not going to touch the documented people.
before and the after. And that the concept of a fork-tongued devil, it's what this makes me think of. But again, out of those 355,000 rescinded TPS for those Venezuelans, I'm willing to bet anything they brought them in and got them vouchers and gave them houses and gave them housings or put them up in temporary shelter. I'm willing to bet anything that they forced them all to take that shot, and they forced them all to be in the real ID, digital ID system. There's a whole other level of a game that's being played right now that I'm really trying to emphasize for us. This is in California on Sunday. The protesters shut down the freeway, Highway 101. This is some of the imagery that it turned out to be a lot more people than are showed in this video. But I want to show this for a reason. Because again, remember, this is protesting all of the Trump policies, right? You see the Mexico flags. They're protesting the deportation policies, etc. Right? So you see the numbers growing. Let me drink some water. Look like a movie. All right, so this is Sunday, right? So this video on the right is on Sunday too. I was actually planning on going live. I was going to do my group meditation on Sunday live on YouTube. I didn't do it because I had a headache. And sometimes when I have a headache, when it's from the spraying and I know what type of headache it is, I kind of just have to lay down and rest for most of the day if I can't get ahead of it. But I had a headache that day, right? So that night, this video I shot was 10:30 in the evening. Mind you, this is the exact same night that this protest is happening on the 101 freeway. And at this time of night, they were still out on the freeway, and the numbers grew to be a lot larger than just what are represented on this video. So I'm not sure how this translates on video, but it is 10:30 p.m. in Los Angeles, and it is super, quote unquote, foggy outside. I mean, there is an apartment building there in the distance, and it's actually not that far, but you can see the quote unquote cloudiness between here and there. And yeah, it's like really, 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 really strange. And they have been spraying in LA consistently. I didn't go outside today. I wasn't feeling well. But I know prior to today, they have been consistently spraying outside. So yeah, what the hell is going on? So this is the same night that this whole situation is unfolding in LA, right? And I have seen this. I know what fog, I know the conditions that create fog. Right? Fog doesn't just roll in the evening out of nowhere when it's not like a dewy, moist kind of air situation. I mean, I've watched this unfold a couple of times, but I'm making a bigger point here, going back to the Congo, going back to what I said in the previous video about Haiti and Rwanda, right? And then all of the videos that I have of LA of how much they spray here. I mean, today was off the chains. Off the chains. I meant to say off the charts.
You think I'm just Mexico and defending America? Because you are Mexican? Do you know what Mexico is? No, this is Mexico. It used to be Mexico, motherfucker.
So that was Cat Williams about, I want to say the video, I think the video was from 2011, if I remember correctly, where he is mocking a guy or him and a guy in the audience are going back and forth about the whole, being Mexican versus American aspect. And hopefully you guys can hear what Cat said. The sound on that video is a little bit distorted, but I'm gonna play this video by this sister, Haunani K. Trask, very powerful sister. She transitioned, but because I'm presenting the flip sides of both of these arguments, right? And even with the Mexican American, quote unquote, like Phoenix used to be Mexico, that whole aspect of Mexican culture / American culture / the split and all of that. It's like that's one part of the story of America. You have the native and indigenous people who were originally from Mexico, don't look like the Mexicans of today. They're called Afro-Mexican, right? Afro-Latino, but very dark-skinned people who look just like the dark-skinned people in America, who look just like the dark-skinned people all over the world, but have specific, phenotype that is geared towards what today we call Mexican people, right? So there's that aspect. And then there's also the fact that there were the native indigenous people as we know as the Native Americans, and then the native indigenous people as we know as quote unquote Black Americans, right? So there's a multi-layered aspect to that. And even the racism in Mexico and in all cultures really based on the lighter skin versus the dark skin aspect too, right? So in a sense, this is still that land, but then in a sense, this is not still that land. You know what I mean? Because you got to pay taxes if you live in Phoenix, right? And you got to have an ID to live in Arizona and to be a citizen of Arizona, right? So you're already in the matrix of the game playing it. This is where I think we kind of fall short as the indigenous original people of the world. It's like I think we're not as shrewd as we need to be when it comes to this game that we've been playing for thousands of years now. Computer is just destined to make me look silly. All right, hold on, Cat.
This is not America. This is Polynesia. Our country was stolen. That's one of your problems. You're ignorant, woefully ignorant. But you, caller, need to learn about Hawaiian history and about where you are. That attitude that you have is the same attitude that Joey Carter has. You think you are in America. You are not in America. You are in a colony that is in Polynesia that was forcibly taken, just as Eastern Europe was forcibly taken by the Soviet Union, which Americans think is a very, very bad place. The bad, bad Soviet Union. Well, the bad, bad United States of America took Puerto Rico, it took Alaska, it stole Indian land, it took Hawaii, it took Guam, it took Micronesia, Palau. You had better learn that history because you are the recipient of an imperialist tradition.
So y'all see those two extreme polarities, right? I'd be interested to know what you guys think in the chat room. Which position do you take? The position that this is native indigenous land and this doesn't belong to you, or the position of, yeah, it was, but now it's this? I think it's a little bit of both, right? Because again, we say, you know, time is an illusion. But then I say, well, what time are you waking up tomorrow? And you say, I usually get up around 7. I have to be to work at 9. I pick my son up from school at 6. Right? I have a doctor's appointment at 12. So it is an illusion on a higher spiritual level, but it's one of the governing factors of this reality. So one of the governing factors of this reality right now is what we know of as the United States of America, USA. Is actually the United States of America, USA. Try getting in without a passport. Good luck with that.
I'm saying this with the deepest of sincerity, way deep down in my bones, from my house in the middle of Appalachia. I don't give a shit how many immigrants come here. I don't care how many immigrants come to the United States seeking a better life. One side of my family came here 5 generations ago, hopped on a boat, floated across the ocean, and ended up in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. The other side of my family came here about 3 generations ago, hopped on a boat from Ireland, and came over here searching for a better life. They gave me nothing but generational trauma and addiction issues, okay? I don't care if they come here. My issue is not with them coming here and opening up a Mexican restaurant so that they can feed people in my little town something other than damn McDonald's for dinner. I don't care how many of them come here. Because you know what? They look at this region and they still see hope, where so many people in our own country see nothing but despair. They see a way, they see hope, and a place to build a future. And they are not my enemy. Well, then, yeah, what about the criminals that's bringing all the drugs? Do yourself a favor, go down the road and buy a local newspaper, open it up and read the local arrest reports. I guarantee you, you won't find a single Mexican in it. It's all your cousins that's been selling meth. That's who's in it. Well, they're stealing all the jobs. What jobs? What jobs are they stealing? Because last time I checked, everybody bitches about the fact that there ain't no jobs around here. That's why your cousin sells meth. Okay? Jesus Christ.
Not to mention the criminals who put needles in children's arms and in people's bodies, knowing that it has the potential to cause very negative ramifications. They're doing that still to this day.
What do you say?
Well, first of all, I'm for affirmative action temporarily, but for 2 reasons. First of all, you have to look at the university's purpose. It is to educate their students. And I feel that different races, people coming from different races have different backgrounds and they contribute differently to, the education. And second of all, when you say they have equal backgrounds, that's not true when you look at the broader picture and you look at slavery. And this is kind of a reparation. I think affirmative action is a temporary solution to alleviate history and the wrongs done to African Americans in particular.
And what's your name?
David.
David, you say that affirmative action is justified, at least for now, as a way of compensating for past injustice, the legacy of slavery and segregation.
Right.
Who wants to take on that argument? We need now a critic of affirmative action. Yes, go ahead.
I think that what happened in the past has no bearing on what happens today, and I think that discriminating based on race should always be wrong, whether you're discriminating against one group or another. Just because our ancestors did something doesn't mean that that should have any effect on what happens with us today.
All right, good. I'm sorry, your name is?
Kate.
Kate. All right, who has an answer for Kate? Yes.
I just wanted to comment and say that.
Tell us your name.
My name is Mansour. Because of slavery, because of past injustices, today we have a higher proportion of African Americans who are in poverty, who face less opportunities than white people. And so because of slavery 200 years ago, because of Jim Crow, and because of segregation, today we have injustice based on race.
Okay.
I think that there are differences, obviously, but the way to fix those differences is not by some artificial fixing of the result. You need to fix the problem. So we need to address differences in education and differences in upbringing with programs like Head Start and giving more funding to lower income schools rather than trying to just fix the result so it makes it look like it's equal when really it isn't.
Yes.
Well, with regard to affirmative action based on race, I just want to say that white people have had their own affirmative action in this country for more than 400 years. It's called nepotism and quid pro quo. So there's nothing wrong with correcting the injustice and discrimination that's been done to Black people for 400 years.
Good. Tell us your name.
Hannah?
Hannah. All right, who has an answer for Hannah? And just to add to Hannah's point, because we need now someone to respond. Hannah, you could have also mentioned legacy admission.
Exactly. I was going to say, if you disagree with affirmative action, you should disagree with legacy admission, because it's obvious from looking around here that there are more white legacies than Black legacies in the history of Harvard University.
And explain what legacy admissions are.
Well, legacy admissions is giving an advantage to someone who has an arbitrary privilege of their parent having attended the university to which they're applying.
All right, so a reply for Hannah. Yes, in the balcony, go ahead.
First of all, if affirmative action is making up for past injustice, how do you explain minorities that were not historically discriminated against in the United States who get these advantages? In addition, you could argue that affirmative action perpetuates divisions between the races rather than achieve the ultimate goal of race being an irrelevant factor in our society.
And tell us your name.
Danielle?
Hannah?
I disagree with that, because I think that by promoting diversity in an institution like this, you further educate all of the students, especially the white students who grew up in predominantly white areas. It's certainly a form of education to be exposed to people from different backgrounds, and you put white students at an inherent disadvantage when you surround them only with their own kind.
Why should race necessarily be equated with diversity? There's so many other forms. Why should we assume that race makes people different? Again, that's perpetuating the idea of racial division within our universities and our society.
Hannah?
With regard to African American people being given a special advantage, it's obvious that they bring something special to the table because they have a unique perspective, just as someone from a different religion or socioeconomic background would as well. As you say, there are many different types of diversity. There's no reason that racial diversity should be eliminated from that criteria.
Yes, go ahead.
Racial discrimination is illegal in this country, and I believe that it was African American leaders themselves. Martin Luther King said he wanted to be judged not on the color of his skin, but by the content of his character, his merit, his achievements. And I just think that to decide solely based on someone's race is just inherently unfair. I mean, if you want to correct based on disadvantaged backgrounds, that's fine. But there are also disadvantaged white people as well. It shouldn't matter.
Let me
if you're white.
Tell us your name.
Ted.
Ted?
Yes.
Think of Hopwood. It's unfair to count race, or I assume you would also say ethnicity or religion.
Yes.
Do you think she has a right to be considered according to her grades and test scores alone?
There is more to it than that. Universities need to promote diversity. And
so you agree with the goal of promoting diversity?
There's ways to promote diversity besides discriminating against people solely based on a factor that they cannot control.
All right, so what makes it wrong is that she can't control her race. She can't control the fact that she's white. That's the heart of the unfairness to her. Bree made a similar point, that basing admissions on factors that people can't control is fundamentally unfair. What do you say?
There's a lot of things you can't control, and if you're going to go through it based on merit, like just based on your test scores, a lot of what you can achieve has to do with like the family background that you raised in. If both your parents were scholarly, then you have more of a chances of actually being more scholarly yourself and getting those grades. And you can't control what kind of family you're born into. So
All right,
I mean,
good. That's a great rejoinder. What's your name?
Da.
Da. Ted, are you against advantages that come from the family you were born into? What about legacy admission?
I mean, I do believe that in terms of like a legacy admission, you shouldn't have a special preference. I mean, if there is a legacy admission, you could argue is another part versus you could say it's important to have a small percentage of people that have a just several generation family attendance at a place like Harvard. However, that should not be an advantaged factor like race. That should just be another part of promoting diversity.
Should it count at all?
I think that
alumni status, should it count at all, Pep?
Yes, it should count.
All right, I want to step back for a moment from these arguments. Thank you all for these contributions. We're going to come back to you. If you've listened carefully, I think you will have noticed 3 different arguments emerge from this discussion in defense of considering race and ethnicity as a factor in admissions. One argument has to do with correcting for the effects of educational disadvantage. That was Anisha's argument. This is what we might call the corrective argument. Correcting for differences in educational background, the kind of school people went to, the opportunities they had, and so on. That's one argument. What's worth noticing, though, is that that argument is consistent in principle with the idea that only academic promise and scholarly potential should count in admissions.
Now, why, I found this conversation to be really fascinating, and something that I've said before in the comments. I posted it on the screen where she said the lack of empathy all around us is astounding, and identity means nothing if you've lost your humanity. Right? There is a serious lack of empathy and compassion in so many of these conversations when it comes to race. And one of the things that I've found in terms of the white dynamic, right, is that, they can't see themselves outside of themselves and the way that the rest of the people of the world see them. And I'm not saying that they should be, riddled with guilt or walking around feeling like they have to, they owe everything to everybody else. But what I am saying is we have empathy and compassion. It's like in our nature, it's built into us naturally, beyond race, right? For any, not everybody, but in the collective consciousness, we're very empathetic and compassionate people. This is a fact. That's why the anomalies of Black on Black crime and the killings in our community, we know that they're connected to a lot of other things, just like the stuff in the Congo and in Haiti. But the lack of ability to be able to see the world the way that the rest of the world actually sees you, right? And then there's the individual aspect of this, then there's the collective consciousness. There's the collective consciousness of white America. This super red pro-MAGA, hillbilly frequency that's rising up in America, that's percolating, is clouding the vibration. So, you know what I mean? It's not about giving that too much credit or empowering that or focusing on that too much, but in the collective consciousness, the vibrational resonance of this country matters. It matters on a major scale right now. America, what's happening here? Not only with us, what's happening with them, what's happening with all of us.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job. Do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I'm hopeful that this ceasefire could be the beginning of a larger and more enduring peace that will end the bloodshed and killing once and for all. With the same goal in mind, my administration has been moving quickly to restore trust in the alliance and rebuild American strength throughout the region. And we've really done that. We're a respected nation again. A lot's happened in the last couple of weeks. We are actually a very...
You know what's so funny is I'm seeing people in the quote unquote conspiracy world. They're saying Netanyahu looked shocked when Trump made this statement about America owning Gaza. No, he didn't. He did not look shocked at all. Stop trying to make this guy into Rambo. Like he just stood up and did a press conference with this guy right next to him, and he had no idea what he was going to say. And then all of a sudden he drops a bombshell like that right in front of him and he can't do it. Like, stop it. This is to take the heat for phase 2. This is to take all of the heat off of Israel and put it on America. But we're going to come in and clean it all up and make it look pretty. The Gaza Strip will be turned over to the U.S. by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. You hear that? Turned over, not taken. The Palestinians, people like Chuck Schumer, would have already been resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities with new and modern homes. This is modern day manifest destiny. What did we talk about in the previous video? Except now there's a much larger, louder, evil undertone in all of this shit. Trump signs executive order, withdraws the U.S. from the UN Human Rights Council, cut off funding for Palestinian refugees. All of this back-to-back signing bills, all this major activity. It looks like he's coming in and cleaning up shop. We already have 4 years of proof and history in terms of the government and how it was run back then. And he's obviously putting stupid people. You can be highly intelligent in the world of technology and very dumb when it comes to people. Like this guy on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Notice now he always has his hands up. There's always something weird now with his hands up in all of the images. He posted today, I love Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man. I mean, geez. President Trump signs executive order banning critical race theory in grades K through 12 schools. A move his administration says is aimed at refocusing American education on fundamental subjects such as math and reading. Schools that continue CRT-related lessons risk losing federal aid. I know, Scott, I laughed at that too. Palestinians like Chuck Schumer. That was he is funny, if nothing else. The president believes American education should focus on cultivating patriotic citizens who are ready for the workforce. Now, notice the emphasis on math and reading. No emphasis on history. Who does that? What civilized people doesn't emphasize history? The executive order. That point to emphasize cultivating patriotic citizens who are ready for the workforce. Why not ready to start businesses or ready to take over the world or ready to cure diseases or ready to start empires? Why ready for the workforce? This is the business guy, right? I know he's the president. I know this is the language that has to be said, but I'm just saying, look how they're lowering the bar in such a slow, methodical way. It is like so blatantly obvious. And the thing, well, let me finish reading this. The executive order follows the release of the latest National Assessment of Educational Progress, which showed reading scores declining and math scores stagnating nationwide in 2024. The White House argues that classroom time should be dedicated to core subjects rather than discussions on race and systematic inadequacy. We know this is BS because even in the schools where they were teaching it, it's like a half of a subject. Right, you might have a history class that on Black History Month or a certain section of History Month, they might be talking about, race-based conversations or the history of Black America. But there's no in an extreme amount of time being talked about any history, let alone Black history. And then the thing for us in terms of getting so upset about this, all of the history that they're teaching about Black history is inadequate anyway. All of that shit's inadequate. All of those books are written by white people who serve this same agenda just in a different way. Now, I tried to contribute to this process by creating a textbook to help us with this particular part of the problem. So we can't say nobody, why haven't we done this? And some of us have done it, are doing it. What's behind Trump's ban on transgender women in US sports? This is one of those things where, and then he had all of the girls in the background, right? All of the ones who look like him. But you know, we celebrate ourselves as parents, moms, dads, and all of that, but like it's like wanting a little bit too much credit for knowing it's just what you're supposed to do. This is not a flex. This has been a circus and a clown show. So like furthering the clown aspect of it, the way that they're using this in the political spectrum. This is not a flex. This is undoing something really stupid that made American culture look really dumb. Are they lowering the bar or exposing how they made mediocrity? Both, for sure. If Sexy Red can be a household name and have lip gloss named after sexually transmitted diseases, which is, again, another tentacle of all of this, that is absolutely a lowering of the bar, in my opinion. Really scary right-wing watch list found of mostly Black federal health workers. Federal workers alarmed at Heritage Foundation-backed watchdogs list of civil servants in health equity roles. Now, this article is alleging that most of these people that were put on this quote-unquote watch list are Black women in particular. But there's like 10 or 15 other mainstream stories right now that are built around this. They're destroying all of the different facets of, you know, American culture, of Black history, of Black culture, right, etc. And again, there's a whole nother ball game play happening in the background that's way beyond all of this. This is an article about Trump meeting with Newsom. I don't know why it started like that. Let me see if I can run it back. This is an article, Newsom meeting with Trump 2 days ago about the fires. He said Wednesday that they had a productive meeting to discuss federal aid needed to help Los Angeles area fire victims recover from the recent blazes. He said he just spoke to him about the urgent need for Congress to quickly pass federal aid to help our fellow Americans recover from the devastating firestorms in Southern California. The scale of destruction from these fires is historic and assistance is needed to help rebuild. During Newsom's meeting with Trump, he thanked the president for his administration's help so far, including debris removal efforts by the U.S. EPA, the governor said. The meeting between the two political rivals comes after Trump visited Los Angeles last month to tour the destructions left by the Palisade fire. Newsom also met with members of Congress earlier in the day to try to secure support for disaster aid. The governor, the point in me showing this is that he's moving with lightning bolt quickening on everything else except this situation in Los Angeles. Notice how it's not really even like a main thing in the main frame of consciousness right now. And I get that, you know, the EPA has to come out and there has to be soil treatment and these lands have to be cultivated to make sure that they're safe to build on again, right? But that process should already be underway and it's not. They're dragging their heels, just like they dragged their heels with Lahaina. You see all these press conferences Trump has had, all these things he signed. How many times have you actually heard him talk about Los Angeles? And regardless to what you think about the politics of the Democratic, you know, element, far left element of California, this is the biggest, this state provides the most in terms of the economic value of all states in this country. The United States of America, in terms of gross domestic product and the economic reach, production of fruits, you know, produce, etc., all of the layers and levels of it is a major contributing factor to the economic system of the United States. So how could you not be focused on getting that cleaned up and shaped up? Because it's not his call. And it's the same thing that happened in Lahaina, just like it's the same thing that's been happening in the fires for the last 10, 15 years in California.
We are also going to make sure that they uphold the law. We are also going to sit down while you go ahead and desecrate our Constitution, or you look at the laws that have been passed into law and say, never mind, we'll disagree with that. Instead, we are going to be in your face. We are going to be in your office. And we are billionaire boys and their grubby little hands. We have got to tell Elon Musk nobody elected your ass. Nobody told you you could be in charge of the payments of this country. We're told you make enough money off our government yourself. Somebody else's bankroll and make sure that they don't make the kind of money that you make. Oh, you want to use our money to go to Mars? No.
It is fascinating that they are coming after public education, because when you talk about private schools or vouchers, in these spaces, people get to choose which kind of student they are going to accept. It is the public schools that parents get to decide where their children get to go. And when you think about Elon Musk and Trump, people who have had in their ranks folks who are eugenists, who believe that there are certain types of people that should be alive, should exist, should have opportunities, it should be of concern for all of us. When you have a president who has made fun of people with disabilities, it should be of concern to us. When you have people who have all, as billionaires, gone to private schools, it should be of concern to us. When you hear the nationalized surveillance they are creating by collecting the private data that is within our government, it should be of concern to us. When you see the kind of conflict of interest Elon Musk has with his connections to China, and now his minions have access to the most personal private data of the American public, it should be a national security concern to us.
So here's the thing. I actually appreciate what that last sister had to say, because I'm with her on everything that she said. Even though I don't have a dog in this fight in terms of the political aspect of this. But is this what we're going to do for the next 4 years? We're going to galvanize all of our energy and fight against whatever he's working on, whatever they're focusing on. This is the repetition in the 4 years. Somebody gets in, maybe he's a good guy, everything flows smooth for 4 years, then 8 years, then some random comes in and everybody's against him, so they spend 2 years fighting against it, building a campaign. They lose the campaign. They spend the next 2 years regrouping, trying to figure out where they went wrong. And they spend the next 2 years galvanizing again for the next campaign. I mean, how much of our time and energy at this point should be put into this? And I am happy that we have, you know, the whole putting together the marches and the press conferences and galvanizing energy and everybody standing together, right? I would love to see this type of focus when it comes to Altadena, California. I would love to see all these Black congressional representatives and all of these, you know, highly intelligent and accomplished people come together and shine a light on Altadena, California. I showed you guys the GoFundMe list for, I think it was 800 and some odd families. And those are just the ones that are on the list. I would love to see these beautiful Black women come together and galvanize about the immunization schedule for children. And it can be just about Black children or all children, whatever. I would have loved to hear this type of passion back in 2020 and 2021. I would love to see this type of focus and attention when it comes to the mindset and the mentality of Black girls in America. So there's a difference between being loud and being powerful. And anytime you're consistently fighting against something, you are not in a position of power. The person that is getting all of your time and attention is the one that's in the position of power. Because again, consciousness creates reality. The more you fight against something, the more it grows.
You are about to see with your own eyes every single Generation Alpha, Generation Z, Millennial, Generation X, what it looks like to live close to Jim Crow. No, I know some of y'all are saying, Roland, this ain't Jim Crow because I can go to the club with a white woman. This ain't Jim Crow because I can go out and we can go here and I can use this water fountain. I can use this bathroom and I can go here. But you need to understand, and I'm telling you right now, mark it down, 7:40 p.m. Eastern on January 23rd. A year from now, you are going to see a dramatic drop in the number of contracts that Black businesses have gotten from the federal government. You are going to see a year from now a dramatic drop in the contracts that Black-owned businesses will receive from corporate America and from state governments and from county governments and city governments and school districts. You are about to see an economic calamity come down in Black America because too many of us set our asses on the couch, chose not to vote because we said, well, if I don't get nothing before I vote, then I'm not going to vote. Now you are witnessing with your very eyes what happens.
Nothing more unexciting and unattractive to me than a bravely ignorant person. I seem to be a magnet for them, actually. But just bold and loud in the fear-based consciousness, just bold and aggressive in the victim-based consciousness, just projecting all types of negativity on Black America. You want so bad for us to go back to the days of slavery. You want so bad for us to remember the days of Jim Crow. This is why I say that the spiritual ramifications of our words.
So while a lot of y'all are bullshit around whether you can be on TikTok, while you're getting caught up in some bullshit house life, while you're having your MJ and LeBron debate on who's the GOAT, there is literally, as we speak, focus to gut every single civil right and economic gain that we have had since 1964 because they're pissed with those three acts. They're pissed with the Brown's Board of Education. You have other bills that are being pushed in Texas, in Tennessee, and other places to gut public education. What we have to understand is there is a vicious assault to completely defund
Bruh, just, oh my God. Like, I need to go lay in a bed of sand. What, I mean, I'm just so tired of people projecting poverty on Black people, on our people, on us. I'm so tired of the victim-based consciousness. I'm so tired of, like, if the writing should be on the wall at this point. Not only the writing of the wall, how I say the devil is in the details and God is in the details. Okay, so the writing is on the wall, the devil is in the details. We just ran it back a few times with Trump. There's like 20 other stories I could have added in there just to make the point. I don't want to keep y'all all night. So the devil is in the details, the writing is on the wall. The God is in the details, the writing is on the wall. Meaning what? That consciousness creates reality. Meaning what? We have access to global markets now and being self-employed and being entrepreneurs and reaching people all over the world. Meaning what? We have access to knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to be able to learn anything we want to learn, get any book we want to read, learn any or practice any trade that we want, just with a little bit of intention and a little bit of passion. And again, 2020 was the stop, reflect, pause. If between 2020 and now you haven't had a chance to stop and reflect and pause, I can guarantee you're probably on somebody else's timeline. So then what Roland Martin is saying is powerful to you. I can't tell you how many people sent this video and I'm scratching my head like, are y'all listening to anything I'm saying? Don't send this shit to me. Respectfully, I'm being facetious and funny, so don't take that as a, what am I supposed to do with this? This is not powerful. This is not enlightening. This is not bringing me close to God. This is not making me feel confident and secure in my life right now or in the coming days. I saw another sister on a video talking about the projection that in 2053, I think that was the date. I've had several videos that I was going to put in here that I just had to cut out. Talking about by 2053, the expected income for the average Black household was expected to be $0. Like what? And read the whole study and all of that. Like, stop it. Then we'll turn around and do a whole podcast and talk about the power of words. Then we'll turn around and go get the Bible and skip over the part that says, ye are all God's children of the Most High God. Then we want to talk about Black history for 28 days out of the year and talk about all these great civilizations, kings and queens and whatnot, and then go back to being slaves the following day or month or whatever. So when I say race-based consciousness, this is a map of the fires in LA. Let me get a drink of water. The Eden Fire on the top right-hand side is where Altadena, California is. This is a predominantly Black community with a very large historical background in terms of Black LA, in terms of Black, middle class, dare I say upper middle class, right? So the Eden Fire is on the right, and then the Palisades Fire is on the left. And the Hearst Fire is at the top, but the point I want to make is the proximity and the variance in the Palisades Fire and the Eden Fire. The Eden Fire, we have predominantly Black as well as, diverse culture of people. The Palisades Fire, we have predominantly white, upper echelon in terms of economics, in terms of income, right? A higher, upper middle, not even upper middle class, upper class in terms of income. These are two very different ends of the spectrum in terms of race, in terms of finance. And there were some Palisades Fire household homes that were not, just regular single family households. They're not, everybody in that area is not rich. They also had a campsite, a site for campers in Malibu that was right across the street from the beach where I'm saying campers, but mobile homes. Now, across the street from the beach in Malibu, a mobile home plot is going to cost you like $500,000 or $600,000, just for context, right? But I'm just saying, and that's just for the land to park your motor vehicle. But that area would be a more multi-eclectic or eclectic in terms of the race dichotomy. But here you have two very different ends of the racial spectrum, the income spectrum, that have both experienced extreme loss. The spiritual warfare aspect of this, one day you get up and go to work and drop your children off school and you come back home, or you can't get back home, and the next day everything's gone. So I'm happy to see all of those sisters representing in front of the Capitol or wherever they were and standing up for something. It's beautiful. They're in that world. They get paid to do that. They should. But we're going to have to start coming together and using our platforms and our voices to start building ourselves up, to start building our neighborhoods, our own communities. There's a lot of things that we can and should be doing not on a day-to-day basis, but just in terms of our internal work, and then in terms of the work that we're doing out in the world. The cell phone towers in the schools, something I've been talking about. They're putting them in the schools in the hood. They're putting them in the schools by Redondo Beach, predominantly upper echelon in terms of finances, predominantly white environments. Not only that, in 2020, 2021, a lot of our Black politicians, leaders, celebrities, influencers, people that are in the mainframe of consciousness absolutely 1000% sold us out by pushing that poison, by suggesting or advising us to get it in our children's arms, by ostracizing people who wasn't down with that game. All of the everything from the dancing nurses to the juvenile vax that thing up song, all of the clown shit element, all of it. If you were Black and a part of that, you work for Satan, unless you came back and righted those wrongs. And I'm just using that as the focal point in terms of what I'm talking about race-based consciousness. I'm not supporting nobody that was down with that, regardless of if they look like me or not. This is the timeline we're on now, is about frequency and consciousness and awareness. So Project 2025 on the left-hand side, this is the thing that Black America has been quivering in their boots about, or talking about, or exposing. And in no way am I trying to devalue or undervalue, the potential harm that these people could do, or the potential negative impact they can have with all of this. That's not at all what I'm doing. But this Project 2025 started in 2020. And it's way bigger than race. And this is the thing on the left-hand side, is what they're projecting for people to pay attention to. The thing on the right-hand side, not so much. Rain for 4 days straight here in LA. I'm taking videos of the sky all the time now. I'm watching these people build storms. I'm going to leave you guys with this quote, this beautiful passage that I found somebody on Instagram wrote. I think is relative right now to the conversation I've been having about indulgence versus balance, and the spiritual sort of ramifications of everything that's going on in the world right now. As a reminder, today is the last day of my campaign to be able to get a subscription pass for $50 for an entire year to help me raise capital for my book, Ancient People. I'm going to extend that sale through tomorrow at midnight, just because I wanted to do this video earlier, and I know it's super late, so a lot of people won't see this until tomorrow. My Cash App information is in the description. I hope you guys find benefit in my content, and I hope you reciprocate at the same time. info@ZaZaAli.com is my email address, and my website for all of my books and contact information will be in the description as well. Again, $50 for 12 months. I think that's a major win in terms of what you see I represent in my content. The caption says, or the post says, the wild part about awakening is that you don't get to escape the illusion. You just realize it's an illusion, and then you still have to show up for life. You still pay bills, answer emails. Yes, thank you, Rudy. Please stream. Please give it a thumbs up. You still pay bills, answer emails, go to work, deal with people's projections, and pretend to care about things that, in the grand scheme of existence, don't seem to matter or don't even matter. But that's the point. You're not here to escape it. You're here to witness it, to observe the absurdity, to feel the chaos, and still find meaning, even when you know it's all temporary. The game doesn't stop once you wake up. You just realize you're playing. And honestly, that's when it gets really interesting. And to add to that point about being here to witness it, I would also say, you know, for me, at least I can speak for myself, I feel very strong and intentional about waking up or about standing on behalf of or supporting or pouring love and light into those of us that have sort of taken on the weight of what this time, you know what I mean, what this timeline is requiring us. And it's not a lot of us, but those of us that are really internally focused, working on ourselves, the balance and the discipline and indulgence, the way we eat, the way we think, the way we live, the way we breathe, watching how we talk to ourselves, watching how we speak in the world, staying off that race-based frequency, staying off that lack-based consciousness, purging the aspects of ourselves that are no longer serving us. I've had to purge a lot of my survival mode mentality in the last year and a half. When I say survival mode, just growing up in the hood in Oakland, you know what I'm saying? And like what comes with that, and certain patterns of behavior you don't even realize you have until you realize you have them, right? And so purging those aspects of ourselves that were necessary at a certain point for survival, but that are no longer necessary. Because we got to clean up our vibration. We got to get light right now. Not light like on no, I'm not going to deal with any of this. I'm going to stick my head in the sand. But self-aware and self-assured, like, thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies, right? Like I am that I am. Like, no matter how difficult the circumstances or the, you know, the predicaments of whatever life is throwing you right now, that you know that you've been putting in the work and putting in the effort and putting your best foot forward on a day-to-day basis, and that the blessings are coming on the other side of whatever the struggle is at this time. All of that, we have to take care of ourselves. The people that always want to take care of the world, guess what? We usually neglect ourselves. I wrote in my notes the other day, I wish I had a me for me. That's a bar. I wish I had a me for me. The way I show up for people, the way I listen to people, the way I, you know what I mean? Take care of the people that are like, I wish I had a me for me. And then the response to that voice, that conversation in my head was, you do. So give all of the stuff that you've been giving to the world in the way that you've been pouring into the world, pour it into yourself. ZaZaAli.com is my website. info@ZaZaAli.com is my email address. Thank you to my beautiful moderator. I appreciate you, Queen. Thank you to everybody for chiming in the chat room. I hope you guys have a beautiful evening. Again, I'm going to be posting some more content tomorrow to kind of close out this campaign. And in the future, I will be posting clips of my content. You guys can always go to my page and find content on demand or join my membership channel. All right. I will see you beautiful people very, very soon. Peace and love.